Hi, I'm Briana Hetherington.
I'm Jenn Hatcher. And I'm Kat Gottlieb.
Welcome to the Conscious Creator Community Podcast. We are over the moon excited to share our wisdom, experiences, and valuable insights to becoming the best version of yourself. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt the energy? Have you ever noticed how one person's mood can influence an entire family? Or how thousands of people in a stadium can suddenly feel like one living, breathing organism? Welcome back to the Conscious Creator Community Podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that touches every aspect of our lives, whether we realize it or not. The collective consciousness. We are all connected through a shared field of consciousness, energy, synergy, invisible force, the invisible yet powerful connection that directs and influences humanity and our reality. And you may not even know how it might be impacting you right now, for better or worse. Today, we're exploring what collective consciousness is and how it impacts us. How do we protect our energy in a world of constant information, real or misinformation? And then we will share our individual ways that we stay regulated within our own energy states. We each are at different stages of life, so I think our listeners will be able to get some useful and relevant advice on how to be the best caretakers of our own part of the collective consciousness. And hang tight till the end, because we will finish up with a beautiful, calming nervous system regulating meditation that we can do together. Let's dive in. Jennifer and Kat, my co-hosts. Let's start simple. When you hear the phrase collective consciousness, what does it mean to you?
Ooh, okay. When I hear collective consciousness, I really think of shared emotional, like energy, vibration, and the psychological feel that we all contribute to and experience together. Like you said, for better or for worse.
Yeah, and I think for me, collective consciousness shows up like in everyday life. Like think about your own family and the dynamics of it, because you know every family has an energy. It's a collective consciousness, and some families are joyful and supportive, and then others maybe operate from I don't know, like chaos or worry. And of course, there's a whole spectrum of other levels and types of energy within a family unit. I think the thing that is really relevant here is that we absorb the energy from our family or from any group that we're a part of. We anticipate what that energy is going to feel like even before we enter the room or go through the front door. And the thing to think about is if you have young kids, for example, that they're absorbing this, like it's unspoken, but it's highly felt energy among us. Except for that, here's the thing, they don't have like lived experience or like history or perspective to understand what is happening to their nervous systems, what it feels like inside of their minds, their emotions, and their physical body, and how it impacts their personal energetic state.
Oh, it's such a great example, Kat. Or think about like groups of friends. You know how some friend groups energize you? You leave feeling inspired, motivated, expanded. Then there are other groups of friends where you feel so exhausted when you leave them. The collective energy of that group affects everyone inside of it.
Ooh, definitely. And here's another piece. Even companies have a collective consciousness. So when you walk into a building or an organization or you're going in for an interview, you can kind of feel the culture right away. Sometimes it's really vibrant and you're curious and you want to learn more. And sometimes it doesn't feel good at all. You know, the person behind the front desk hating life is sharing some of that collective consciousness. So for companies, it's really more than the mission statement that's printed on the wall or in a frame. It is the actual energy. Do people trust each other? Are people excited to be there? Are they passionate about what they're working on? Do they feel safe? That's collective consciousness.
Mm. I think you brought up a good point, Jen, because I think, and it's worth a conversation here, is that like leadership, and leadership can be in an organization, it can be, you know, the leaders of a family unit. They have a huge impact on the collective consciousness or the culture. Culture is another word for the same thing that we're talking about. And the emotional state of leaders often becomes the thermostat for the entire team. Like, how do they gauge their own emotional states? And fear spreads like wildfire within an organization, but also confidence and hope spreads too, because energy is contagious. And so, as a leader, whether it's your family unit or you're in a business, to understand that you set the bar for the energetic culture, the collective consciousness of your team or your family.
Oh, so well said, Kat. And when we really zoom out, humanity itself has a collective consciousness. The beliefs, the fears, the hopes, the emotions, the stories we are all carrying, the traditions, history of our nationality or ethnic community, we're participating in that every single day. So, when have you personally felt collective energy in your life? Where does it show up?
For me, one of the first collective energies that I connected with or I recognized was family dynamics and family connected, collective energy and connected energy. So, for listeners who don't know, like my family isn't very big, but we still don't see each other a ton. And with some family members, like I think Bree mentioned earlier, you see them and it feels really good, and we can't wait to get together, and we're smiling and we're laughing. And with other family members, I literally get anxiety when I know we're going to get together. Even the texts where we're organizing what we're going to do or whatever, and I don't revert back to roles that I carried when I was a kid, but I still feel like kind of that stress and anxiety of like, I need to show up this way, or we're going to have this conversation that I don't want to have for the 14th time this year, or things like that. So for me, it's family.
When I heard this question, that was what I started thinking about too, is growing up in a small town in Wisconsin. I didn't know it at the time, but there's definitely a collective consciousness, a certain energy and a certain culture that may or may not have fit me. But it's, I think what's really cool about this topic is to be able to intellectualize what that is and what it does not have to be a reflection of who we are as a person. And it's kind of like what you were saying, you know, like as soon as you start thinking about having to go back into those situations, you kind of feel yourself going back into the same energy or the same role that you had as a kid. And I think that's one of the things we want to talk about today, is that collective consciousness, the pressures to fit in or react to culture and maybe the influences, positive or negative, about that. But like the other thing I was thinking about is that I realize I'm an empath, and I think sensitive people in general, um, tend to feel the energy of every situation. So I used to think I used to struggle with social anxiety, but as I've worked on that, I realized it was my reaction to all the different energies that are like zinging around a room when it's full of people at an event. And that energy would just overstimulate me. And so I had to develop methods to actually manage it.
Collective consciousness shows up in so many different environments. Even the three of us, we have a collective energy when we're in person, when we're together, or when we're just, recording or hanging out. It's a safe space to just belong, and it's a good feeling. And it's interesting too, because when I reflect, I think about my family. We have such like it's my mom, my dad, my sister, and myself. We have this collective consciousness that it's like this safety and security that we feel when we are together. And it's just so interesting now, being married and my sister getting married and having other energies come in into that collective consciousness. And it's so cool to see it evolve and develop. I also was at the World Cup last night, and that collective consciousness was just like nothing I've ever experienced. It was people from all over the world coming together, and it felt peaceful.
I love that.
Peaceful. Traditionally, if I'm going to Philly and I'm going, to Xfinity Live, it's very, very party-like energy and things like that. With this, it was more of a celebration of just like being together and doing it peacefully, and it felt really good.
I love that idea because collective consciousness. This is such a great example of it, the World Cup, because it is people from all around the world. And the idea that it's a positive, like all those love bubbles going out into the universe, that is what we need more of. That's why we want to talk about this topic. What a great experience to have felt it, like physically felt it because you were there.
You felt hope, you really felt hope. And it's so cool to see people connect and just want to learn about different things. And I just think as like human beings, as a species, we're meant to be connecting and helping one another in this lifetime in all of the ways. We all feel what each other feel. So when we really think about the interconnectedness of everything, we could go really, really deep, but I'm going to save that for another time with the trees and the birds and all of it.
Yeah.
How we're interconnected. But one quote that I absolutely love by Carl Jung, he said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Most people are unconsciously participating in the collective. The invitation is to become aware, because the more awareness we have, the more choices that we create.